Welcome everybody. Welcome to this webinar with the title ETSI and SNS JU Transforming Ideas into Impact Through Standards. And that's what we are going to talk today. We are going to talk about standards and especially the work that ETSI is doing and all the possibilities for the SNS research community on those. For that, we have a great representation from the ETSI, from the European Telecom Standards Institute, Muriel, Alan, and Silvia, who will introduce you to different parts of the ETSI work and the possibilities of the projects. But before, of course, we will have an introduction done by the SNSU office by Pavlos Purno-Gerakis. I think I said it right. That's wonderful. You have the agenda on the screen. At the end of the ETSI presentation, we will have time for your questions, for your doubts. I already have a couple of questions prepared, which I think it will be useful. And once more, I would love to thank Pavlos, Muriel, Alan, and Silvia for being here and for speaking today. From the SNS Co project, we are really happy with these initiatives where we are trying really to bring the standards world more close to the research that are done in European projects, so you don't feel limitations when you decided to act or to contribute to these standards. And I will say, let's start already. Pablos, if you want, you can take control of the screen, and I will say we are all yours.
Perfect. So we can start. So good afternoon, everyone from my side. I'm Pavlos Purno-Gerakis from Smart Networks and Services Joint Undertaking. I'm Deputy Head of Programs, and it is really a pleasure to be with you today for this to give some opening remarks for this webinar. Because at SNS JU, we often say that we don't fund research for the sake of research. We fund research to create impact, and today's topic is exactly about that: transforming ideas into impact through standards. So if we have a look at where we stand today, we have close to 100 R&I projects across our portfolio with more than 600 million euros of public funding. And this is indeed a very strong pipeline of research and innovation for Europe in 6G, covering from low TRL research in Stream A and Stream B that you can see, up to experimental infrastructures and higher TRL large-scale trials and pilots with verticals. But then the real question for this webinar is not how many projects we have, but is how much of this innovation actually reaches the global stage through standardization. And the ambition that we have in SNS JU is very clear. We wanted to ensure that research is translated into real-world impact, so into standards, in order to make sure that Europe's future networks are secure, sustainable, and globally competitive. And to do that, as you can see in this slide, we have designed the program as a continuum. So we start from early research and innovation to technology development and some technology building blocks to test beds, and then ultimately to real-world deployments and the monetization of all the programmatic results to ensure EU competitiveness and socioeconomic progress. And right in the middle, you can see of this continuum, you can see standardization. So in order to move from research results to deployments, we need collaboration with strong standardization organizations and platforms like ETSI, to provide this bridge between the innovation and the global standards. This is why, as you know very well this slide, but we also all the phases and the alignment with standardization, because from the very beginning we made the standardization a core objective of the SNS JU program, not something optional, not something at the end, but something that is embedded from the very beginning. So what we say since the start of the program is that in SNS JU we provide all these opportunities to European stakeholders in industry, research, and academia to achieve a really leading position in the standardization process towards a global 6G standard, which is the objective of the program. And yeah, as you can see in this slide as well, the roadmap is fully aligned to support all this complex standardization effort. We all know that 6G standardization has already started in 3GPP and in other SDOs and globally, and the competition is really intense. So next 4 years will be critical, and we need to foster, to ensure participation of the full EU ecosystem, including not only the core stakeholders, but also verticals, the EU national initiatives, and of course, strong cooperation with the international partners. If Europe wants to lead in 6G, which is our objective, we need to lead where the decisions are made, and this is the standard bodies. So our collaboration with ETSI is pivotal, and is already happening, because you know that since the start of the program, we have various bodies like the ISGs and the SDGs, with strong SNS JU participation. And I'm sure this will be presented later in this webinar by our ETSI colleagues. So, as mentioned before, in SNS JU, we don't only fund excellence, but we want to measure and maximize the impact. And this is why standardization and patents are key KPIs for us. Moving to this project, from project results, individual project results, to a bit more programmatic level impact. And it is highly remarkable to see already more than 2,000 contributions to standards and more than 200 patents from our running 79 projects till the end of 2025, which is undoubtedly a significant achievement. And what is more encouraging is not just the number, but the increased engagement of the SNS community in the process, and the highly impactful contributions that we see in all the different SDOs. This is the data, the statistics only for 2025, and we can see now this comes from the recent SNS Scope questionnaire that we have received the analysis beginning of April, and we can see that only in 2025 we already have 920 contributions to standardization bodies, with around 1/3, almost 30%, going to ETSI. And this clearly shows the central role of ETSI in the SNS ecosystem. But let me also highlight an important trend from this figure with the infographic on the right, which is the increasing role of open source. We know that in 6G, standardization and open source will go hand in hand. We saw that in 5G, but this is even more in 6G. And again, here ETSI plays a key role through the software development groups, where SNS projects are already contributing or even chairing some of them, accelerating all the development, the testing, and the adoption of the relevant technologies. Something that I would also like to pass the message. I know that most of you are already familiar with this tool, but it is important. This tool is really important to support the community engagement and the standardization monitoring. So we have put in place, thanks to SNS Co-op again, the SNS Standards Tracker tool on our website. This tool will be soon updated with the 2025 data. Currently, if you can see a bit more than 1,000 contributions, but we will add all the new data in this tool. And this is really an important platform for us, because it helps us monitor the contributions across projects, understand where the efforts are concentrated, and also identify gaps and opportunities. And beyond tracking, as mentioned here, and also you can see also on the website, this tool also helps new actors engage in the activities and support the better coordination across the SNS ecosystem. And this is very, very important. This is critical for the success of the program, because standardization is complex, as mentioned before, and we need to make it more accessible and collaborative. The next slide is about some statistics on the different categories as reflected in the tracker tool. I'm not going to stay long on this. I would like also here to refer to some other activities that we implement to reinforce governance and coordination in the standardization arena. So, for example, we have the strategic working group on standardization and the subgroups on various key topics. We have recently one established on ISAC. where we bring together SNS JU, European Commission, 6GIA, ETSI, member states, and many other stakeholders, of course. But the goal here is exactly to align on European priorities, to create synergies, and to ensure that European contributions have stronger impact. And of course, the activities in SNS are not the only ones in Europe. There are other activities that complement the SNS initiatives. We have projects, CSA projects like the Stand ICT, InStart, Standardization Booster, and many, many more that help closing this capacity gap in Europe, as we say, and ensure collaboration alignment with other regions on 6G standards. So let me conclude without further ado. So looking ahead, we know that the next few years will be decisive as 6G is still being shaped now in relevant standardization bodies. And this really gives Europe a unique opportunity to lead in research and standardization and to lead afterwards in deployment. But this, of course, will not happen automatically. It will require not only stronger collaboration between research and industry in the various projects, but also early engagement of the community with ETSI and other SDOs, of course. From the SNS JU program side, we will continue to be standardization driven, even more in the next call. We think about ideas how to make it even stronger in the last SNS phase, building on all these important projects achievements that we have so far, and of course ongoing standardization and pre-standardization work with ETSI and the other SDOs. So thank you very much. And I look forward to the next presentations and discussions. Back to you, Jose.
Thank you, Pablo. Thanks a lot for the overview. So as we see, that's why we are here today. Standardization is key for Europe and for European research, and ETSI is one of the key SDOs where our contributions, our research can land. So right now I would like to present Muriel Deschanel. Muriel, I hope I said right your
yes, that's perfect.
last name. Welcome. I hope you can share your slides, and I will leave it to you. Now we will indeed, Pablo, talk about ETSI, ISGs and SDGs, and I will leave it to our ETSI colleagues, Muriel, Alan, and Silvia. Thank you, Muriel. All yours.
Thank you, Jose. Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining this webinar. Can you see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Yes. Okay. Excellent. So my name is Muriel Deschanel, and I am a research and innovation technical officer at ETSI. And my job consists in bridging research to ETSI pre-standardization. So I'm very pleased to be speaking to the SNS JU community today. So I will try to move to the next slide. Here we go. So I will first give you an overview of ETSI, and in particular a type of group called Industry Specification Groups, which are specifically tailored for pre-standardization work. We are then very fortunate to have Alain Mourad, who is Senior Director at Interdigital, because he will share his experience of initiating an ISG at ETSI and in chairing that ISG. The ISG is called ISAC for Integrated Sensing and Communication. And then Silvia will conclude the presentation, the ETSI presentation, with a talk on how open source development can support standardization activity. Silvia is Director of Software and Standards at ETSI, and she will do a deep dive on software development groups. Okay, oh my God. I'm not sure how I managed to move to the, oh, here we go. Occasionally it does work, sometimes it doesn't. So sorry for that. I am having difficulties moving through the slides. But first, to set the scene, I will just spend a couple of minutes on why standards matter. We use standards every day, really, when we watch TV, when we use our mobile phone. And why does it matter? Well, it matters because it gives us choice. We can buy any brand of TV set and watch any service available in our region. It just works, and it works because standards bring interoperability between solutions from different providers. So standards bring interoperability, but what does interoperability bring to us? Well, it gives us, it results in a very dynamic ecosystem. Because when there is interoperability, then you have access to a diverse range of solution providers. It includes smaller players, new entrants, academics. They can all provide parts of an overall solutions because standards prevents monopolies, locking situation with a single vendor. And that is really the strength of standards. Standards bring interoperability, and in turn, interoperability results into a dynamic and open ecosystem. But then we've seen why standards may matter, but how does it matter to the research community, and what benefits can standardization bring to the research community? First of all, if standards open the ecosystem, the market, then obviously it's much better if you are at the table influencing the technical specification rather than waiting for the technical specification to be written and then having to adopt it. So it matters for the research community to actually bring innovation to the standards discussions and start influencing the technical specification from the very beginning. Also, when you bring to the table a technical contribution in a standards meeting, then you get a very thorough review, not only from the research community, but also from industry experts, from developers, implementers, societal stakeholders, sometimes regulators. So that feedback then feeds into your research work, and it strengthens the technical quality and the scientific quality of the work. So it increases not only the visibility, but also the output of the research work. Because you expose your work early on, this innovation, to the broader community, it also helps the technology transfer, because in the room you have industry players who can provide a direct feedback on the technology being developed. So we talked about an increased visibility, increased impact, faster technology transfer, and last but not least is that standards meeting that provide excellent networking and collaboration opportunities, because you have people from different countries, different backgrounds, from SMEs, from academia, from large companies. And really, standards group, they kind of provide a natural platform to build a diverse and well-balanced project consortium when you start building project proposals to apply for or to respond to a call for project proposal, be it at the EU level or at the national level. So now let's look at ETSI. So ETSI is a standards developing organization recognized by the European Commission. So it's called a European Standards Organization. There are only 3, but the technical specifications developed by ETSI are adopted worldwide, and they have a global impact. They are not restricted to the European market. ETSI operates as an independent and neutral organization, and the work is consensus-based, and more widely, we follow the principles expressed in the World Trade Organization Agreement on Technical Barriers to Trade. So that means transparency, that means openness, that means inclusiveness, sorry. We have over 900 members, and out of those 950 members, we have around 150 which are universities or private or public research bodies. And that is also, in addition, we have obviously research labs from industries. So there's a fairly good representation of researchers in the ETSI membership. It offers also a unique European platform for direct participation. So organizations and individuals participate directly into the standards work. There's no national delegation that you have to join, and that in turn fosters dialogue between government, researchers, SMEs and technology companies in general. We have 900 members, but we also maintain over 100 partnerships. So with other SDOs, with other forum, industry forum, associations. We also contribute to international cooperation projects like Indico Global, for example, or GIST. And ETSI as a whole offers a broad range of tools to develop and publish technical specification in a timely manner. We have a range of working groups or technical bodies. So we have special committees, technical committees, and then we have the two types that we've been talking about, Industry Specification Group and Software Development Group, which are more tailored, if you want, for pre-standardization. They are kind of the link between the research and final standardizations. And last but not least, all of the ETSI technical specification and standards can be downloaded from our website for free. So ETSI encourages a constant flow of research innovation into our standards work. And more concretely, what can we do to support the research community? Well, if you go from left to right on this slide, we can certainly provide general advice on standardizations and how researchers and research projects may get involved in standardization groups, either in ETSI or in 3GPP, how to get a head start, how to join certain groups. We can provide this general type of advice on standardizations. One step further, we may also provide a letter of support to projects applying for funding, that providing that the project meets certain criteria. So there needs to be a link, a connection to ETSI. Either the members of the consortiums are, some of them are ETSI members, or the work program of the project plan to contribute to ETSI standards group, or the theme, the technology is aligned with some of the work program of ETSI. So in this case, we are very happy to provide a letter of support saying that ETSI supports this project proposal. We also, on some occasions, can join project advisory committees, so then we can provide more expert advice, if you want, or more more technical advice on standardization action that can be undertaken during the life of the project. We have spent a lot of effort into building a lot of education material that are freely available from our website. We're also about to launch a learning management system, which will allow you to also get certificates, at certain level of the training. So there's plenty, if you're new to the standardization process, there's plenty of material available, freely available from the ETSI website that you can watch, that you can go through. And we will go into more details into these two specific type of working groups, which are more tailored towards pre-standardization, the industry specification groups, which I will dive into just after that, and the software development groups, which Sylvia will cover. And then something that Alain also mentioned at the beginning, ETSI has just launched its very first edition of its Research and Innovation Awards, really as recognition of the contribution and the excellence of the research and innovation to the research community, to ETSI standardization. So we launched the Research and Innovation in awards in 3 categories. So individual researchers, under 30 researcher, and funded collaborative project. The call for nomination opened in January, and it closed 6 weeks later, so it's too late now to apply, but the awards will be presented at EUCNC in June. So let's have a look at this industry specification group. They are an ideal framework for early stage standardization work. They're reasonably easy to set up, really. You need obviously an ID, a technology that you want to explore, and a minimum of 4 ETSI members to actually start putting together the proposal for an ISG. Then this group of companies, which can be small or big, which can include non-ETSI members, work towards a proposal that will be presented to the ETSI board for discussion. The decision is made by the ETSI Director General, but after consultation with the ETSI board. So he may decide to approve the creation or not of the ISG. And the ISG is created for an initial period of 2 years, but that's renewable. So you can go, some ISGs have been running for a long time now. They are both open to ETSI members and non-ETSI members. So non-ETSI members may join the ISG after signing a participant agreement. So participant agreement is an agreement that says that the organization will comply with ETSI technical working procedures, ETSI directives. It gives some information about the IPR policy, the confidentiality, etc. So it's fairly standard and reasonably light agreement that needs to be signed by any organization which is non-ETSI members, but which wishes to participate in the work. And then once that agreement is signed, then the employees, the representatives, the delegates of the organization can start contributing to the work. They can start influencing the way the technical specification go. That is free. There is a small fee that applies for attending plenary or face-to-face meetings. So to actually participate in any of the visio, any of the technical discussions, to write a technical contribution and submit it for review to the group, all of that is free, but there is a small fee to cater for the face-to-face and the plenary meetings. The process for developing and publishing the deliverables has been streamlined, so you can often publish a deliverable within a few months, and the type of deliverables are either group specifications or group reports. The leadership positions can only be held by ETSI members, but they can be held by a researcher, by someone from a university. That is not restricted to industry experts, certainly not. And the officials are elected for a 2-year mandate. And the last point on the slide, which is very key, I think, for the SNS JU community, is that the contributions are made on behalf of companies or organizations. They're not made on behalf of a project. But in your contribution, which can be in the form of a document or a PowerPoint presentation, then you can include a project acknowledgement. You can state that the work presented is as a result of a project funded by the European Commission, for example. So this slide just presents the timeline of the creation of a new industry specification group. So from T0 on the left, where you have an idea for a technology area that you want to explore, with a minimum of 4 ETSI members to, kind of building a proposal. Then obviously the ETSI Secretariat is here to support that work. So once there is a fairly good idea of what needs to be addressed in that ISG, then the ETSI Secretariat, join the discussions and help to build that proposal and construct something that is suitable for review by the ETSI board. Then the Director General takes the decisions following the presentation to the ETSI boards and the feedback obviously from the ETSI board members. Then it's announced to the complete ETSI community, and there's a minimum of a month, 30 days between the announcement to the complete ETSI community and the kickoff meeting. But in total, this time between, a couple of companies or 4 companies getting together and a technology area and the launch of an ISG, it can be as fast as 6 to 7 months. So here, the slide summarizes the differences between non-ETSI members, so participant to an ISG, and ETSI members. So as already stated, non-ETSI members, they can participate in the work of the ISG and can contribute just the same, but they need first to sign a participant agreement. Once this is done, they can request an ETSI online account and start accessing the documentation, joining the ISG mailing list. participating in ISG's meeting, you need to register for that. Then you can contribute to any work item. You can propose a new work item. Then you need the support of 4 ETSI members. You can become a rapporteur of a work item. So the rapporteur is like the technical leader of a work item. Is also the editor of the technical specification of the group specification, sorry, of the group report. And unfortunately, it does not have any voting rights, but most ISG decisions are made by consensus. It's very rare that any vote is actually used to make a decision. Okay, and on the right-hand side, you see what ETSI members can do. So in addition, they can apply for leadership position, either the chair or vice chair position, and they can participate in vote when they propose a work item. As they're already ETSI members, they count as one of the 4 supporting members. They only need to find 3 other members to support the creation of the work item. Here, I just wanted to quickly show you the ETSI portal, because really this is the entry point from anyone. You don't need an EOL, you don't need a specific account to have access to this information. So when you visit the portal, you see here the complete list of technical groups, working groups in ETSI. So it also includes the board and the General Assembly, for example, but it has also all the working groups. So in light blue, you have the 2 partnership projects, 3GPP and 1M2M. Then in a slightly darker blue, you have all the technical committees. In dark blue, you have all the ISGs, starting with ARF, augmented reality, and you will find ISAC here. And then in gray, you will find the SDG software development groups. And then if you click on any of these groups, you will get a full page on the group, and you will have access to the terms of reference of the group, the participant agreement. If you want to have a look at it, you will see who the officials are, the chair, the vice chair, the technical support provided by ETSI. You will have access to the work program with a description of the different work items. You will have access to also the meeting calendar. So there's a huge amount of information available to anyone. For that, you don't need to have an ETSI account to access all this public information. And then after you've joined you signed the participant agreement, or if your company is already an ETSI member, then you need to request for the creation of an ETSI account, an ETSI online account, EOL account, and you can do so by clicking on sign up here. And there's a very short form that you need to fill in, and then you get access to the account, and that allows you to register for meetings and start uploading documents, downloading documents as well, and start contributing. I've included, and this is my final slide, a slide with useful links that you can use as a reference, and there's also some guides as well on how to write world-class standards, and if you're a delegate, what you can do, and this will speed up the onboarding. So this concludes my presentations, and I will now give the stage to Alain for the deep dive on ISG ISAC.
Excellent. So thank you, Muriel. So I'm trying to share my screen now, so hopefully you can see it.
Yes, that's perfect. Thank you.
All right, perfect. And I guess you can see it in a slideshow mode now. Is that right?
Yes, that works fine.
All right. Yeah, because I can't see it now. I can see you guys on my main screen. All right. So again, thank you for having me to share with you the success story of the ISAC Industry Specification Group. So I put in here actually the timeline with key milestones on the journey of this ISAC ISG from when we created it, from when we incubated it actually back in April 2023, all the way up until the launch of the second release recently. But before I go through that timeline actually, and in the context of this webinar, I have to say that before even the SNS JU got started, so with the precursor of SNS JU, I think the 5G PPP and the Horizon 2020, the European Commission approved one project. That part of the scope of that project was to do some technology road mapping for beyond 5G. That project was called Empower. And so in the technology road mapping exercise that we did, that I happened to be part of, ISAC was one of the technologies, the top 10 technologies that were in the radar of the technology roadmap. And then following on that, the Commission, the European Commission, had actually ISAC as one of the topics in the very first calls of the SNS JU. So this is, if you like, a precursor of ISAC gaining also traction in the industry. And so ISAC being adopted by the ITUR IMT 2030 framework as one of the 6 user scenarios. So this is what is showing on that famous wheel diagram on the right-hand side of the slide. So clearly aware of the significant investment in research in Europe by the Commission, but also by the national member states on ISAC, and then that ISAC picked up really worldwide interest through that adoption as a user scenario of the ITUR IMT 2030. So a group of about a dozen companies and universities and government agencies in Europe, they picked up that idea of doing a pre-standardization activity under ETSI for ISAC. So this is when we started incubating the ISAC ISG, so back in April 2023. So then it took us about 6 months. So this is pretty much in line with what Muriel presented earlier on the indicative timeline of ISG. So it took us about 6 months, so to be exact, September 2023. So this is when I presented to the ETSI board the proposal to create this ISAC ISG. So after a discussion of the ETSI board, the ETSI Director General approved the creation of the ISAC ISG and the launch of what we call the first release of 2 years. So a couple of months after, November 2023, so this is when we had the election of the leadership team, but equally importantly, the approval of the work program of the first release. So the work program included at the start 4 work items, but then later on an additional work item was added. So the first release work program ended up being composed of 5 work items. Then, as we neared the end of the first release, to be specific here, June 2025. So this is when we went to the ETSI board again with a rich roadmap to continue on that pre-standardization activity with ETSI. So we went to the ETSI board, we presented the proposal for a second release of 2 years of ETSI ISAC ISG, which was discussed at the board and then given approval by the ETSI Director General. And so following on that approval, then in November 2025 last year, so we had the election of the leadership team, but then followed by a month in December, we had the approval and the launch of the second release work program, which includes now 4 new work items. So in total, between the first release and the second release, we have 9 work items, as you're going to be seeing on the next slide. So this is clearly the mission of this ISAC ISG was to establish the foundation, the technical foundation for ISAC development, and pave the way for the specification of ISAC in standard projects like 3GPP, for example. So as I said earlier, when we founded this ISAC ISG back in 2023, we were about a dozen companies and universities and other ETSI members. Today, you can see actually that we've grown, exponentially. So currently, the ETSI ISAC ISG has 116 ETSI members and 1 consular, that's the European Commission. The release 1 is completed, apart from the later work item 5 that started later in that release. And you're going to be seeing next actually some highlights of these work items. So we had, as I said, 5 work items in the first release. The first one was on the use cases and deployment scenarios. The second was on channel modeling, measurements, and evaluation methodology. The third was on system and architecture. And the fourth was on security, privacy, trustworthiness, and sustainability. And the additional work item in the first release, work item 5, was on the integration of computing with ISAC. So we'll touch a little bit on these in the next slides. Then the work items in the second release included, if you like, 2, in a way, continuation of work items from the previous release. So work item 6 on the enhanced system and architecture. So this is a bit of a continuation of the work item 3. A continuation of the work item 4 on security, privacy, trustworthiness here, and with some refinement with focus on some resilience. And then 2 additional work items, totally new. One to do with artificial intelligence and machine learning and data handling for ISAC. And then the last one is on demonstrability, technology adoption, and technology evolution. You'll also see actually on the right-hand side the leadership team in both releases. So I've had the honor to chair this group for 2 terms now. So first release and second release with a really strong leadership team of vice chairs. So we have Ayman Najib from Apple, Richard Sterling Galachev from Huawei. And then we had 2 professors, Professor Henk Weimich from Chalmers in the first release, then succeeded by Professor Christos Masouras from UCL in the second release. And then each work item has a rapporteur, and you can see actually the industry representation, quite diverse in the leadership of the work items. And of course, we are supported by a technical officer from ETSI Secretariat. So this is a timeline only spanning 4 years, which is the time span of this ETSI ISAC ISG in terms of execution, where we also show actually the linkage to the ITUR IMT 2030, but also the 3GPP. Right? So you'll see on the top actually in green the release 1 of the ETSI ISAC ISG and the group reports that we publicly released, and the way they connect also with the ITU activity and also the 3GPP ISAC activity, both 5G advanced and also 6G studies. And then in blue, you will see actually the second release with the planned group reports towards the end of 2027, and how these going to be feeding actually both the studies, the 6G ISAC studies, and also the specification, the release 21 specification, pertaining to ISAC in the 3GPP. So just to give you a little bit of a preview, so this is, for example, the work item 1, group report 001. So I think we're going to be distributing the slides. So the link here is active, so you can download this the material for free. And basically on the focus for use cases and deployment scenarios. So we did an extensive search of the state of art in terms of what the use cases, ISAC use cases have been discussed in research forums like the SNS projects or national projects in Germany or in the UK or France. We did the same in terms of ISAC use cases in the 3GPP with focus on the release 19. I think there was 30 plus use cases discussed in the 3GPP, in the IEEE as well. So we really did an extensive study of what's actually existing as ISAC use cases. And then we set focus in this first work item on what we, the delta use cases or use cases that are advanced compared to the state of art that the industry anticipates to actually come to the 3GPP 6G ISAC use cases. So we did this quite successfully, where we ended up actually with 18 advanced use cases compared to the state of art. And many of these use cases that we defined in this GR001, they made it into the 21 6G ISAC use cases in the 3GPP SA1. A similar story of success actually we had with the second work item, this time focused on the channel modeling, measurements and evaluation methodology. So it is a prerequisite actually to develop or build the channel model for ISAC in the 3GPP. The 3GPP has actually started some work in the release 19 to pave the way for ISAC specification in the 3GPP. So a similar story on our end. So we, ahead of the work of 3GPP, we scanned, the state of the art in terms of channel modeling. We had the freedom to develop, the advanced channel modeling for ISAC, including aspects of what we call the radar cross-section, the micro-Doppler, micro-deformation, and so on. And then as we have been developing these advanced concepts, the 3GPP has been developing their baseline. So the same team actually in the ETSI ISAC SG was involved into the development of the baseline in the 3GPP. So naturally, there has been significant synergy going on between the ETSI ISAC ISG channel modeling work item and the 3GPP release 19 ISAC baseline channel modeling. And clearly, the freedom and the flexibility we have with the ETSI ISAC ISG meant that we could actually go into or adventure into more advanced concepts that the 3GPP could not actually embrace yet. Right, so typically the approach in 3GPP is very evolutionary and very, let's say, stepwise, the way they take it, and not much adventurous. So we had, that opportunity in the ETSI. So for example, if I take micro-Doppler modeling and micro-deformation, so these have been discussed in the 3GPP, but not yet adopted. However, in the ETSI ISAC ISG, we had the opportunity to kind of progress on these and promote these to the 3GPP once 3GPP is ready to take these concepts on board. Similar story of success on the system and run architecture here. So this is really a great industry effort. So we published this group report back in February this year, really right on time for the 3GPP, system and run architecture for ISAC. So here we developed terminologies around, the sensing workflow, the sensing tasks, the sensing entities, and so on. And we put in place a system reference model for ISAC, identified what kind of challenges lie for the system, and then what we call potential approaches, which anyway kind of potential solutions that could actually mitigate the challenges or resolve the challenges. The same approach actually was followed on the run side. So what kind of architecture and interfaces for the run to enable ISAC, and then what kind of protocols or approaches in the run should be taken to resolve the challenges perceived in the run. And it's important actually that we talk here about approaches. We don't say specification, because the whole spirit of this ETSI ISAC ISG is not to do the specification itself, but rather actually to feed all the insights into 3GPP, where 3GPP does the specification work, right? So here we're not calling solutions, we are not delivering group specifications, but we are delivering group reports ahead of time to support the work in 3GPP. Another work item that also published back in February this year is on security, privacy, trustworthiness, and sustainability. And same story here, there has been a great deal in this group report to try to harmonize the terminology and define the foundations, around the security, the privacy, the trustworthiness, the consent and transparency, and also the sustainability. And then the ISAC ISG members, they defined 15 key issues specific to the security and privacy with their corresponding consolidated requirements. And they did the similar effort, defining 4 key issues related to sustainability and their corresponding consolidated requirements. So what's coming up next for us? So this, as I hinted a bit earlier, so we still have one work item from the first release. It's due to complete in this quarter, so it's almost ready on the integration of computing with ISAC. So stay tuned on that. And then we have 4 group reports that are scheduled in the Q4 of 2027, so not this year, the next year. One group report for each of the new work items launched in the second release. Right? And just to give you a little bit of flavor also of the connection with 3GPP, so we have been running a series of joint webinars, ISAC webinars between ETSI and the 3GPP. So every time we release a group report at ETSI, we kind of get together with the 3GPP leadership and then discuss the findings of the report, the progress in the 3GPP, and so try to find synergy between both ETSI and the 3GPP. So this has been very, very successful kind of series of webinars. So we started first in June 2025 with focus on use cases and the requirements. So here, Jose, you see yourself in the photo. So we had Jose as a former chair of the SA1 and also back then the newly elected chair, Basil, from the 3GPP side, SA1. And then on our side, we had Christina Kirshina as the rapporteur of the work item on use cases in the ISAC ISG and myself. Then we followed with quite a popular also webinar with focus on the channel modeling for ISAC. And again, here between the rapporteurship of this work item 2 in the ISAC ISG and the 3GPP RAN 1 release 19 study item rapporteur on channel modeling, Ying Yang Li from Xiaomi. And then as an advert for what's coming up next, so I think it's public now. So on the 1st of July this year, we will have our third webinar between the work item 3 of the ETSI ISAC ISG and the 3GPP SA2. So the 2 co-rapporteurs, David Gutierrez and Jianing Liu, and then the work item 3 rapporteur, Richard Serling, Galacher, and myself. So that's it from me, and happy to take any question or any feedback from the ISAC ISG. So thank you. And I think it's Sylvia now, right?
Yeah, thank you, Alan. We will take questions at the end. So I think now, Sylvia, you will present another groups, the SDG groups. We can already see your screen.
You can see my slides now.
You can see your slides, all yours.
Very good. So yes, my name is Silvia Almaggi. I'm Director of Software and Standards at ETSI. I'm going to be taking care of this last part of the webinar, explaining what ETSI software development groups are and how this collaborative software can help and is supporting standardization. Okay, yes. So yeah, software development groups are a type of group in ETSI to support a software-driven ecosystem. These groups have been tailored for collaborative software development. That means that we are going to receive delegates from ETSI members, non-members. They're going to be working together, but not on developing standards or pre-standards, but on developing code, actually. And of course, if we are hosting this software in ETSI, it's because it's somehow related or supporting standardization activities at ETSI or somewhere else. We are going to give these groups the choice of software license they want to use. And this includes open source licenses. And actually, to be honest, all the groups we're currently running have adopted Apache 2.0, which is a business-friendly open source license. And we're going to encourage our groups to develop open communities and meritocracy-based governance, because when it comes to collaborative software and open source, this is what possibly works best for this kind of communities. So what's in it for ETSI? Why is ETSI doing this collaborative software development? So first of all, these activities, these SDGs, bring us a toolbox that allow us and allow our other groups to allow for quick prototyping, experimentation, use case validation. It's a very pragmatic way of experimenting with the technologies our standardization groups are developing, and actually a very, very good source of early feedback. And we believe this is going to help us to accelerate standardization cycles and optimize the quality of the standards we deliver. because standards can be developed and tested as they are being written. Software development groups also build a very interesting bridge between standardization and research, and are actually very, very useful to bring research close to ETSI. We're seeing more and more software in standards, more and more software in networks, but also more and more software in research. And actually many research initiatives are developing software, very often with open source licenses. And with SDGs, what they can do is use the software we have, see if it's useful for what they're doing, and incrementally adopt it, bring changes, bring new features, and actually concentrate their resources on pure innovation and reuse what has already been done very often by other research projects, actually. And finally, SDGs are also a nice vehicle to promote ETSI work, promote ETSI standards in those communities which are not that familiar with standardization, but are familiar with software. And actually, in that case, also these external open source projects are going to be more keen to download code, play with it, bring feedback, than to read a big set of specifications. I say this, I don't know if I said it, but anyway, these SDGs were added in the ETSI directives towards the end of 2022, but actually the work in open source at ETSI didn't start in 2022. It actually started more than 10 years ago. I mentioned software in standards, machine readable contents, API definitions, data models, test specifications, but also 10 years ago we started with open source manual. You might have heard about it. It was an initial experiment to build together, co-develop an open source project at ETSI. In 2022 we created TerraFlow SDN, which was actually coming from research, and then is when it was taking the decision to include this type of activities, this type of collaborative software in the ETSI directives. And from them on, we have created other groups, so OpenSlice, OpenCAPIV, OpenOP, and we are also in the process of transforming these two original groups we created as open source groups, Open Source Manual and TerraFlow SDN. We are now transforming them into software development groups, following the same kind of rules and procedures that all the SDGs follow at ETSI. So I've borrowed this image from Muriel. I wanted to put in this picture a little bit where SDGs belong, and we believe they belong a little bit between research and standards. They can actually be a very pragmatic way of impacting standardization from research initiatives. This is the ideal framework for a software-driven standardization work. So if you have started developing software and you foresee potential standardization impact from that software, maybe the way to go is through an SDG. In many aspects, they work like an ISG, but for software, not for pre-standardization. So a new SDG can be initiated by any group of companies, provided there are at least 4 ETSI members. Again, the creation is going to be approved by the ETSI Director General after discussion with the ETSI board. And we create these groups for an initial term of 2 years that can be extended every 2 years. We're going to check, and we're going to bring all the progress made and the future plans to the board, and Director General will decide whether we extend or not. Or also a group can decide they have completed their scope and they don't want to extend. That's also perfectly okay. Participation in SDGs is open to ETSI members, non-members, and individuals. And here, this is a little bit different from ISGs. We're going to see how this can happen. And actually, SDGs can develop their own detailed working procedures. This is to define the structure and the governance and decision-making for code-related activities. We're not going to leave new groups alone. We're going to help them to set up these detailed working procedures, and we will see typically what kind of process they follow. Yeah, so exactly about governance and decision making. The organization of the group at the top level, we have a chair and vice chairs like in any other ETSI group, like in an ISG, like in a technical committee. And the way we elect and the term of these leadership positions is described in the ETSI directives. It's exactly the same for all the groups. And underneath is where each group can define the structure and the processes for their own SDGs. Okay, we're going to encourage them to have a technical steering committee with a number of representatives of the top contributors. And actually, we're going to encourage our groups to pay a lot of attention to this and renew the technical steering committee very often to make sure that the companies setting the technical guidance are those that are contributing most, are most engaged in the SDG. We are going to have module development groups depending on the size of the software we are developing. We can start with one module, and as the software grows, we can have multiple modules to dispatch a little bit responsibilities and workload. And we can also have task forces for those activities that are not purely related to code, can be liaising with standardization groups, can be organizing interop activities, can be many things. This is also a possibility. So this is like the basic structure. Most of the all the SDGs are created with this in mind, and then they can scale. They can create additional modules, they can create additional task forces, and they're going to be renewing the TSC every 1 or 2 releases. The way of working, so once again, these SDGs develop code, not standards. If there's a need to impact a standard, change a standard, create a new standard, we're going to take that work to a standardization group. In order not to be completely disaligned with standardization, we are going to encourage our SDGs to provide regular feedback and to have joint workshops, to have even to prepare contributions, to coordinate contributions and co-sign contributions so they make more impact in the standardization groups. Most of the hard work, all the code is done online on a GitLab server that's hosted at ETSI. We also have some instant messaging tools where the community can talk to each other, developers can talk to each other, and the users can talk to developers and to the community. So it is very useful. And we also are seeing that different SDGs are meeting regularly. We're having at least one weekly conf call, in many cases more than one. And we encourage them to meet twice a year for a plenary meeting. Can be online, but actually meeting face-to-face can be very, very beneficial for creating community and this feeling of belonging. We also encourage them to deliver major code releases twice a year. We've tested different times of releases, and actually twice a year is quite convenient. And we typically, once the release is done, we're going to have a plenary meeting where we're going to renew the technical steering committee. We're also going to have developer-oriented events to explain the code and new features to the developer community. We're going to have webinars, demos, and participation in external events. This slide is almost exactly the same Muriel has presented. Actually, the process to create an SDG is the same as to create an ISG. The only thing is that the idea will be to develop some code together, but we still need the 4 ETSI members. We will still need some discussion with the ETSI board, and we will also need Director General approval. Okay, and the timeline is more or less the same between the moment 4 ETSI members come with the idea to us and the moment we can kick off the work is typically around 6 months. So how to get started with an ETSI SDG? There are many ways. I mean, you can get started as an individual. Actually, you can get started without even creating an account, just by navigating a little bit the code repositories, downloading the code, playing with it, reading documentation. You can join the Slack and ask questions. There's no silly question, and the community is quite active in replying and helping. You can also browse the Slack and go see if your question has been already asked. And you can ask for support there, and the community, when they have time, they're going to be willing to troubleshoot your issues. We also, each SDG has also an info mailing list where anyone can join, subscribe, and be informed of when the releases are coming and when new events are being announced. And you can also participate in a Hackfest or an ecosystem day. You can even present your work in an ecosystem day. Okay, but I would say if you're planning to engage with an SDG and you're working for an organization, someone is paying your salary, the best way to do that is joining as an organization. You don't need to be an ETSI member. You can join as a non-member. In any case, we're going to ask both members and non-members to sign the SDG agreement. And the reason for this is that I mentioned before, we can have different kinds of software licenses. We want that every organization that joins is very aware of the license the project is using, and we ask them to sign and agree with this SDG agreement and with the corporate contribution license agreement. That way, no surprises, everybody know what they are doing. When you join as a non-member, there might be fees. It's a very little fee in a yearly basis, and actually, in order to make the barriers really low for research communities, we're waiving those fees for SMEs, universities, public research bodies, and user and trade associations. So in that case, just sign the agreement and can participate. Yeah, so there are many different things you can do. As an individual user, you can just create a user account and provide feedback, create bug reports. If you want to contribute code as an individual, you will need to create an individual contributor account online. And then you can participate to all the technical work. If you join as an organization, even if it is a non-ETSI member, then you can actually join the SDG mailing list where all the decisions are taken, very often based on consensus, as Miguel was saying. You can participate in plenary meetings, you can contribute new features and link those features to your research project. You can get your research project listed in the SDG ecosystem pages. You can apply to lead a module. You can apply to the TSC. You can even apply to a TSC chair positions, even if you're not an ETSI member. And at the end of the story, if you're an ETSI member on top of that, you can also apply for chair and vice chair positions. And also by becoming an ETSI member, you're going to get access to all the ETSI work, all technical committees, all ISGs. So it can be quite interesting. These are the 5 software development groups we're currently running. I'm leaving here the links to their pages. From there, you can navigate everywhere. You can find the Slack, you can find the scope, you can find who are the active members. And also in this link in the ETSI Labs, you can actually navigate the code and see the different repositories and the different code that's being developed, also what features are coming up next, what bugs are in the pipeline, and if you're looking for easy tasks to work on, you might be able to find an easy bug to fix. Just very quickly, I won't have the time to go into the details of each SDG, but starting from the latest we have created, OpenOP is delivering an open operator platform to federate operator networks and testbeds. They are aligning with GSMA requirements. They are exposing Camara APIs. You have the link here to go and find out more. OpenCAPIF is developing an a common API framework as defined by 3GPP. And this actually is a core function that allows to expose APIs and to invoke APIs in a secure and consistent manner. It's actually technology agnostic. It was defined for 3GPP that can be used for any kind of API. OpenSlice is developing an open source operation support system, delivering networks as a service. And the former two ones, Teraflow SDN, is developing an open source cloud native SDN controller for smart connectivity services. And open source Mano is an open source telco cloud orchestrator aligned with ETSI and information. If you get lost navigating these groups and you need help, you can contact us. You can contact my team at sdgsupport@etsi.org. We won't have time to explain one success story for each SDG, so I picked one, and I picked SDG OpenCAPIF because probably it was the bravest, I would say. OpenCAPIF was created from Evolve 5G. This is a research project that started developing this function to implement the 3GPP CAPIF core function. During the lifetime of this Evolve 5G, they contact us and they see this component is something interesting, not only for the project, but can be interesting for many other projects or many other entities working with network exposure functions and willing to use CAPIF to expose APIs. So we would like to take it to ETSI and give it a longer life so that the work doesn't stop when Evolve 5G is terminated. So we accepted to host them. There were a number of ETSI members supporting that activity. And actually, we took the challenge of not only implementing 3GPP specifications for CAPIF, but also to bring back and to support them in bringing back change requests and contributions to the CAPIF specifications. And actually, if we zoom out a little bit, this goes way beyond this Evolve 5G and the feedback loop with 3GPP, because actually what we've seen is that it's true that the CAPIF is very useful in many different research initiatives. We have a growing ecosystem of research projects using OpenCAPIF, actually contributing to the evolution of CAPIF, and using OpenCAPIF as a channel to impact the work in 3GPP, and also to start shaping what CAPIF will be in 6G. So to start creating work items for the next 3GPP releases. And together with this research ecosystem, we also have an ecosystem of API invokers and API exposers, other components, sometimes open source, sometimes not, that have been integrated with OpenCAPIF. And this experimentation, this actual integration and testing is also a very, very valuable source of feedback, not only to OpenCAPIF and to the code we develop, but also to be channeled back to 3GPP in terms of impact in the standardization. So in this regard, OpenCAPIF is really fulfilling this role of bridge between research and standardization, and of channeling of feedback between research, industry, and standardization. And this is all I had. I'll be happy to take questions. I hope we still have a little bit of time for questions.
We certainly do. Thanks a lot, Sylvia. You can stop sharing. Maybe we can see you guys better. And thanks a lot again. I would like to thank you, all of you. Really interesting. While I will ask our audience to not be shy and use this opportunity for questions, you can use the chat or raise your hand, and we'll give you the floor. I have a couple of questions, but I would like also to make a couple of remarks. And I think, Muriel, you have a slide, the slide 6 of your presentation. By the way, we will share all the slides on PDF after the webinar for our audience, unless there is any problems. Where we can see a lot of what ETSI can do for projects, right? You were telling about general advice on standardization. So if projects are lost, if you don't know where to stay, ETSI is there for you. Education about the standardization, I must confess, I've checked it, and it's amazing the collection they have there. They really go from basic to evolve concepts in standardization. And Muriel knows that I use sometimes a couple of slides on my lectures at university, so I would really recommend you to use that. And also, I think it's really important for everybody to know that the SDGs and ISGs is not something that is static, that if you guys have, you are researching a new technology, if you have a new idea, if there is something that you think this could be worth it, it's something that ETSI is really open to discuss and to put the resources if the idea can generate anything in order to go further with it. We have seen examples with ISG, Isaac, and Sylvia with some of the SDGs like OpenCAPIF that you have explained today. And I think it will be really interesting for us or I would really like everybody to really live at least with these concepts in mind, because I think it's really powerful and it's really important what ETSI can do for projects. Muriel, Sylvia, one question before anything. All these face-to-face, and Alan, maybe you can also help me here, all these face-to-face meetings that we are talking, do they always happen at ETSI? Do they always happen at your headquarters at Sofia and Antipolis? Because also traveling is one of the costs for standardization, if you allow me to say, and it's one of the investments that projects have to do. So I will be really interested to know that. I don't know if you can guys help me here.
I can start. Certainly in terms of plenary meetings, face-to-face is obviously encouraged, possibly 3 times a year, but always hybrid. It's always a hybrid meeting, so it's always remote participation is always possible if you're not able to travel. Now we recommend doing at least 1 meeting in our headquarters in ETSI, because again, this foster developing a close relationship with the ETSI secretariats. The venue is great, really. You have pine trees, and usually the sunshine is here to welcome you. It's not not guaranteed, obviously, but that's often the case. So face-to-face is not mandatory, but it's recommended, and face-to-face can be hosted by any of the ISG or SDG members. But we recommend that at least once a year, and again, that's not mandatory, it's a recommendation that at least once a year, you come down to Sophia Antipolis near Nice.
Okay. But Muriel, sorry, just to be sure, all the face-to-face happen at Sophia Antipolis. Silvia, you were saying no. Some of them can happen somewhere else. Are they always in Europe? I just wanted to check those things.
No,
Well,
actually,
yeah,
sorry.
go ahead, Silvia. Yeah.
No, they can happen wherever the community wants to take them. Actually, it's going to be each ISG, each SDG who can decide where it makes sense to go next.
Okay.
If it's a very European community, maybe they will stay within Europe, but it can happen also, and we've had the case in the past, with global communities that they are trying to rotate a little bit and have one in Europe, one in US, one in Asia. And as Muriel was saying, since COVID at least, if not before, all the meetings are hybrid. So of course, if you cannot travel, you're also very welcome to join.
Wonderful. Thank you for that. I see a raised hand, so I will leave our audience with it. Thomas, can you unmute? Do you have a question?
Yes, hello.
Hello.
I'm working in EBOS. First of all, hello for everybody. It's really interesting because it's the first time I can see how projects can make real impact in let's say, standardization and commercialization, like moving the ideas from the projects to some commercialized product at the end. My question is, does ETSI give any consultation services in how to move from ideas within any projects to such commercial product or standards or something?
Muriel, is this something
Yeah.
that you can take, or Silvia?
Yeah, no, I can make a start, and then Silvia can add to it. We do provide support services and advice on standardization. It's not what you would call a consultation or consulting service. We certainly do not charge for it, and we do not have that type of service, but we provide for free general advice on how to take your ideas into ETSI, obviously not into any type of SDOs, into ETSI or 3GPP or 1M2M. So we can provide, advice on if there is already an existing group that you can contribute to, or if it's better to start a new ISG or new SDG. And we obviously know our members, so we can also put you in contact with companies we think will share your ideas, or will support your ideas, will be like-minded if you want, so that will foster more discussions and will increase the number of companies that can support the creation of an ISG or SDG, or can collaborate on these ideas. But we don't have as such a consultation service.
Great, thank you. Thanks.
Just to complete, we don't leave our groups alone once created. So of course, we help you to set up a new group, but then we don't leave you alone. Each ISG, each SDG is going to have an ETSI staff dedicated to them. A technical officer or a technical expert in the case of an SDG, who will not really help you to make impact in the market, but it's going to help you to make impact in standardization, have the best tools, the best pipelines, the best way to develop code in our case. And it's also going to be your link in case you need support from our colleagues in comms, or our colleagues in legal office, or other entities within ETSI.
Thank you, Silvia.
Okay, but this happens whenever there is a creation of a group, right? Not prior. I mean, this is the let's say the last mile.
This is once it's created, you're right. But when in the creation phase, if it's an ISG, Muriel's team will be there to help set up the ISG. If it's an SDG, my team will be there to help set it up. So we can also put you in contact with other entities and advise on how to place the proposal so that it's well accepted and gets positive feedback from the board.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Thomas. I hope if there is any other questions, please raise your hands. I have more in the meantime. Alan, Sylvia, I've been long time in 3EPP. I still remember my first day, and also my first day in ETSI M2M, 1 and 2M. Any advices for those first days? Alan, Sylvia, Muriel, maybe also from you. Anything that you will think, oh, if I were again a new member, I think now with everything I know, the first day I would have tried this, I would have looked for that. By the way, thank you all. I see on your presentation many slides about the first steps that I hope it really helps the project to jump that bar, right? To join, to see what is the information, even how to register. But once I go there, once I land at ETSI with this wonderful campus Muriel was saying, which I already, which I've visited many times, what would you recommend? What would you recommend about these first steps once you get there? Alan and maybe Sylvia, please.
Okay, sounds good. I mean, the first thing is actually double check that you are registered at the meeting, that you intend to attend, right? And get your QR code ready so that you can actually get your badge printed out. And make sure that you know exactly which, obviously, room or amphitheater where the meeting takes place. Second is make sure actually that not only that you are registered. I mean, if you are in person, attending in person, then naturally, once you get your badge, then you're going to be actually automatically, obviously, shown as attending the meeting, right? But if you are remote, right, obviously you need to go and make sure explicitly that you are present, indicate your presence in the meeting. Next is make sure you connect with the leadership team. Right, so go and talk to the chair, to the vice chair, to the technical officer, and so on. A third advice I would give actually is to log into the portal, go to the meeting itself, and then make sure that you download the documents. If not all the documents, at the very minimum, the agenda. Right. Once you have the agenda, then you will get the schedule, so you can decide which ones you might want to stick to, attend and participate into, or which ones actually you would want, eventually to skip for some reason, right? So that's, if you like, my advice. But most importantly, keep talking to the people. So if you don't talk to the people, you will just, miss a lot, and ask questions, because people are really very, very friendly. Whether they are the technical officer from the secretariat or the leadership team or even the members who attend, they're very friendly and supportive. Really, the community is, honestly, I've done also 3GPP like you, Jose, but I would, say that the ETSI, community, they are much more friendly and, easygoing, and then really supportive, and they push in one direction with the support of each other. So I'll leave it here, and I'm pretty sure Sylvia will have more to say on that.
Thanks, Alan. I would agree with you when it comes to a face-to-face meeting, registration, badge, getting familiar with the agenda, taking advantage of the networking, for sure. I mean, it's probably the best thing of attending a meeting face-to-face, all the people you are going to meet and how you are going to develop your network. That will be very useful in the future. But I would say even before attending a plenary, in the case of an ISG, I would recommend join the Slack, navigate a little bit and ask questions. There's no silly question, once again, and it's going to help you prepare and help you meet the community. You'll see who are the ones who reply most, and those are going to be your friends. And in the case of an ISG, that's the same in the mailing list. Make sure you have registered to the appropriate mailing lists and you're listening, or at least aware of the ongoing discussions. And if you get lost, because it may happen, can be overwhelming. If it is the first time you're doing that, don't hesitate to contact SDG support or ISG support. And the people behind those areas are going to help you get ready for a meeting and get ready to start contributing to one of the activities.
Okay, so of course I will always say 3GPP is wonderful to stay. We have our intense moments, but it seems ETSI groups are wonderful. So something I think we can get, or I don't know if you will agree with me, is that coffee moments are gold times, right? In order to connect to ask these questions, Alan, that you were suggesting, coffee breaks are a wonderful tool to be there, right?
Yeah, 100%. And I would also add, actually, there is typically a social dinner. I mean, 3GPP scale is so big that these eventually don't happen. But typically ISGs and SDGs, I think you are talking in person, maybe maximum 50 people, I would say, right? Typically, right? So with 50 people, typically people, arrange for a social dinner, one of the days. So make sure that you mingle with these people and share your stories. And yeah, that's a community indeed, a proper community.
Wonderful. Okay, well, I think we are running out of time and I don't see any more hands. So what I would like, I don't know if Pablo can help me here, but what I would like is again to thank our speaker, Muriel, Alan, Sylvia, for all the information. I hope this webinar really helps the community, and Pablo, I hope we can also do more from SNS Scope, etc., to promote all these tools that you guys from ETSI are putting on the table, if you allow me, because I think they are amazing and really useful and really impactful in standards, as we have seen 3PP and others. And Pablo, any last words from you?
No, I think you covered all the key messages, and many thanks again to the ETSI colleagues. What we might say to the whole community is that in the upcoming EUCNC event, that we have a big session on a lot of sessions on standardization, because we have dedicated sessions not only on research into standards but also on SDGs, right, Sylvia? So we have also a special session. And we indeed look forward to discussing with you face to face, see how we can really increase the impactful contribution to standards and enhance the collaboration with ETSI. And I don't know, maybe it's a good opportunity to mention this ETSI R&I award, right, that we have discussed before the meeting. This is the first initiative, and we are really looking forward to see the winners and have a ceremony at the UCNC. With many thanks to ETSI colleagues. So, thank you very much.
Thanks a lot, Sylvia, Muriel, Alan again, Pablo, and everybody attending. All the slides will be uploaded with the recording. Thanks a lot. Have a wonderful day, all of you.
Thank you. Brilliant. Brilliant. Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.